There are moments in life when everything you believe about your family changes in a single instant. Not slowly, not over time. Just one moment, and suddenly the people you trusted your entire life feel like strangers. For me, that moment began with a phone call on a quiet mountain road outside Asheville, North Carolina. At the time, I thought I was just checking on a renovation project. I had no idea I was about to uncover something hidden inside the walls of my grandparents' house, something that would destroy my family forever. My name is Kinsley Burke. About a year after both my grandparents passed away, I decided to renovate their old A-frame house and put it on the market. My grandfather had died suddenly from a heart attack, and my grandmother followed a year later after battling cancer. That house had been part of our childhood, but empty houses don't stay magical forever. They become expensive. Property taxes, maintenance, repairs. So I hired a contractor named Tom Harland to renovate the place before listing it. On the morning everything changed, I was halfway up the narrow mountain road when my phone rang. Tom's name appeared on the screen. At first, I expected a routine update. Instead, the moment I answered, I could hear something strange in his voice. It was low, careful, almost nervous. "Miss Burke, we found something while opening the loft wall." I slowed the car slightly. "What kind of something?" There was a pause, a locked digital box. Then he added something that made my stomach tighten instantly. "Your sister's name is engraved on it." My hands tightened around the steering wheel. "Amara Burke, my younger sister." "Why are you calling me about that?" I asked. Another long silence. Then Tom said something I'll never forget. "You need to come here as soon as possible, but don't come alone." My heart started beating faster. "Bring your parents," he continued, "and bring your sister too." The way he said it made something cold settle in my chest. Whatever they had found in that wall, it wasn't just an old keepsake, and somehow my sister was connected to it. I pulled over on the narrow roadside, my hands shaking slightly as I called everyone. I didn't explain anything, just told them something urgent had come up regarding Grandma's house and that they needed to meet me there. When I finally reached the driveway, the contractor's crew was waiting outside. Tom greeted me quietly and handed me a pair of gloves. Then he simply pointed upstairs. Dust hung in the air as I climbed the wooden staircase to the loft. The room looked completely different from how I remembered it. Growing up, that loft had been our favorite place in the house. Amara and I used to race up those stairs every summer, turning the space into our secret clubhouse. We'd drape old blankets over the beams to build forts, whisper stories under flashlights long after bedtime, and watch thunderstorms roll across the Blue Ridge Mountains through the giant triangular windows. Downstairs, Grandpa would sit by the fireplace telling fishing stories while Grandma knitted scarves in her worn armchair. Those memories felt warm, safe. But standing in the loft that day, surrounded by exposed beams and torn drywall, something about the room felt different, almost uneasy. The contractors had broken through one section of the wall during renovation, and behind it, hidden inside the framing, they had found a small matte black digital safe. It sat now on a tarp in the center of the floor. Tom had wiped away the dust, and sure enough, engraved neatly on the top were two words: Amara Burke. No date, no explanation, just her name. My heart began pounding as I knelt beside the box. Digital safes usually allow only a few attempts before locking permanently. Some even wipe their contents if someone guesses wrong too many times. So whatever was inside, I might only have one chance to access it. I took a breath and typed the first code that came to mind. Grandma's birthday, red light, a sharp electronic beep. Second attempt, Grandpa's birthday, another denial. The keypad flashed again. One more wrong attempt and the safe might erase everything. I closed my eyes and tried to think like Grandma. She hated complicated passwords. She always used meaningful dates she could remember easily. Then suddenly it clicked in my mind. Their wedding anniversary. Every year she celebrated it with the same bouquet of yellow roses delivered to the house. My fingers hovered over the keypad. Then slowly I entered the numbers. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the light turned green. A quiet click echoed through the loft. The lid unlocked. Inside, there wasn't money, or jewelry, or even documents, just a single cream-colored envelope. The kind of stationery my grandmother always used. On the front, written in her neat handwriting, were the words, "For Kinsley or Amara, open only if I'm gone." My throat tightened. Something about those words immediately felt wrong. Carefully, I opened the envelope and unfolded the pages inside. The letter was 3 pages long. Her handwriting was familiar, but shakier than I remembered. As if it had been written slowly, between moments of exhaustion. I started reading, and within seconds, the world I thought I understood began to collapse. The letter began simply, "My dearest granddaughters," but the next lines made my stomach drop. Grandma believed our father had been stealing money from some of her elderly clients. At first, she thought it was a misunderstanding. Strange questions, suspicious transfers, small inconsistencies. But over time, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Retirement funds disappearing. Accounts rerouted through unfamiliar companies. And every suspicious transaction shared one horrifying detail. They were all connected to accounts under Amara's identity, her social security number, her personal information, forged signatures that looked disturbingly close to hers. Grandma wrote that she had been secretly gathering evidence for months, bank alerts, call logs, statements, anything she could find, but her health had been declining faster than expected, and she feared she might not have enough time to finish proving the truth. So she had uploaded everything to a secure cloud folder. The login details were written on the second page of the letter. Her final words stopped me cold. "Please protect your sister. If anyone investigates these accounts, Amara will be the first person they blame." My hands were shaking by the time I reached the end of the letter. Wind rattled the loose shingles on the roof above the loft. The house suddenly felt colder than before. Grandma had been fighting cancer while secretly investigating her own son, and she had been doing it completely alone. I folded the letter slowly, my thoughts spinning. Was she right? Or had illness and medication made her suspicious of things that weren't real? There was only one way to know. I had to open that cloud folder. Because if even half of what she wrote was true, then the man who raised us had done something far worse than I could imagine. And the deeper I looked into those files later, that night, the clearer it became that Grandma had only uncovered the beginning of something much darker. The drive back to Charlotte that evening felt longer than usual. The entire time, my mind kept replaying the words from Grandma's letter. "Protect your sister." By the time I reached my apartment, the sun had already set. The envelope sat on the kitchen table beside my laptop. The cloud login information stared back at me from the paper. For several minutes, I just stood there looking at it. Part of me didn't want to open those files, because once I did, there would be no going back. Finally, I sat down and typed in the web address. The login screen appeared instantly. Username, password. I entered the information exactly as Grandma had written it. The page loaded slowly. When the dashboard appeared, my stomach sank. The folder wasn't small. It was packed with files. Dozens of them. Documents, images, audio recordings, even video clips. My grandmother hadn't just been suspicious. She had been building a case. The first folder contained scan pages from her handwritten client notes. Each page listed names, account balances, investment portfolios. But scattered among the normal entries were red ink annotations. Questions, warnings. Large withdrawals that clients claimed they never approved. One document described a widow's retirement account losing over $500,000. Another showed an elderly couple's annuity being cashed out early without their knowledge. But the most disturbing detail appeared on nearly every suspicious record. The accounts used to move the money were registered under one name, Amara Burke, my sister. I felt a knot tightening in my stomach. Because if investigators ever followed those transactions, Amara would look like the criminal. I opened another folder. This one contained screenshots of bank transfers, blurry photos taken from a phone camera. Grandma must have captured them quickly, maybe during meetings or late at night when no one else was around. The pattern was unmistakable. Money moving from elderly clients' accounts into shell companies, then disappearing into private accounts. But every step in the chain traced back to Amara's identity. And then I opened the recordings. The first video showed Grandma sitting in a hospital bed. She looked fragile. Her voice was weaker than I remembered. On the other side of the screen was my father, Carl Burke. She was questioning him about one of the missing accounts. At first he laughed it off, said she must be confused, blamed the medication. But when she pressed him for details about the account routing, his tone changed. He hesitated, then he slipped. "It's just a placeholder account," he said. "She doesn't need to know." The recording ended abruptly, but that one sentence was enough to confirm something terrible. My father knew exactly what was happening, and the deeper I went through the files that night, the worse the truth became. By midnight, I had identified 6 separate victims. 6 elderly clients who had trusted my grandmother with their retirement savings. Together, nearly $2 million had vanished, and every trail pointed directly at Amara. Except for one thing, my father's voice on those recordings. That voice was the only proof that the real criminal wasn't her. It was him. And the moment I realized that, I knew our family was never going to be the same again.